for the lovely arrangements we have here, and Ian, who allowed us to disrupt his event this weekend. So I have seen emails, and they all basically have one great big question. Why are we here? So I'm going to answer the question for you now. We're concerned that the fifth kingdom of our society is in deep internal trouble. We are seeing the emails, we are seeing the postings on Facebook, and we are worried about you. We need to hear from you directly what you think your problems are in an effort for us to help you solve those problems and find a path forward. That's why we're here. This is a business meeting, folks. Let's all conduct ourselves accordingly, please. And I loosely have an agenda for today. We're going to introduce ourselves so you know who all is up here and what we do. I have an introductory statement from all of us. Basically, it's bullet points more than anything else. We've already covered why we're here. John, JBK, is going to go ahead and give us an overview of some of Kapora and how it impacts why we're all here. Then we're going to have an open forum, right, where you all get to talk to us instead of us talking to you. And we have a pad up over here, all right, and Stefan's going to take names, be worried. Okay, he's going to be our Vanna White for the afternoon.
Yes.
Right, and get your hand up if you want to speak. He'll get it up there, and he'll keep track of the speakers, and we'll try and get everybody. I'd like to keep that portion of things to an hour. If we need to run over, we need to run over. But let's set as a goal going for an hour. Right. After we have done the open forum, then we're going to take a look at Kingdom Law as well, from an outsider's point of view. I sat on an airplane for many hours yesterday, and I read through your Kingdom Law and cross-referenced to a number of areas inside Kapora, and somebody's getting a shower over there.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at that as well. So let's start off with who we all are. I am, mundanely, I am John St. Denis. In the Society, I am Master Lorcan Dracontius. I am the Ombudsman for Meridies, for Trimaris, for Glenavon, and for Anstiora, and it is my honor to currently be Vice Chairman of the Board.
Oh, you can know that thing.
All right.
Hello, my name is Vandy Passetti Donaldson. In the Society, I'm known as Franca Donato. I'm a member of the Laurel, and I'm a court baroness. I was born in Trimaris, and now I am a loyal citizen of Meridies. Barony of the Osprey is my home now. I am the Ombudsman for Artemisia and Aidenfeld Communications, and I am one of the policy writers for the board. Thank you. Ms. Natalie?
Hi everyone, my name's Natalie Degerstrom. In the Society I'm known as Saruka Bint Lazari. This is my first time to Meridies, so thank you so much for your hospitality. Everyone's been so fantastic. I am from the East. I came from Maine, and I got stuck in Charlotte last night. Not fun. But I am the Ombudsman for the West, Caid, and Antir, as well as martial activities and membership. So thank you for having me so much. I'm excited for Feast tonight.
My name is Dan Watson. In the Society I'm known as Bartholomew Hightower. I'm a member of the Chivalry, the Laurel, and the Pelican. I'm the ombudsperson for the Penzic Kingdoms, except for Ethelmark. I think you got Ethelmark?
No,
You have Ethelmark.
I do?
Yeah.
They've been very quiet. Very quiet. I'm also the ombudsperson for the Heralds and for the Peerage Committee. And I would like to say that, well, mundanely I live in Artemisia in Utah. I drove out here because I heard this was a great event. I've got a few other places to visit also. And I also want to say that I love Meridies because when I first got into the SCA, I lived in Meridies. I was in the Shire of Fensalir, which turned into the Shire of Loch Cairn. I don't know if they still exist or not. And then I spent several years up in the Shire of Ezerray. when I went to school at Tennessee Tech in the early 1980s. And so, you know, I grew up, you know, SCA by choice, Meridies by the grace of God. And I still come back, and I know many of the faces here, and I grew up idolizing Bear Killer and Mantel and Roderick and all of those people that are out there. So I'm really happy to be here. Love you. I love you.
He loves you. I'm Leslie Luther Fulton in the SCA. I'm Countess Jane Pallada. I was lucky enough to have been born in Meridies. Now a royal subject of Glen Aubin.
Go Rams!
But we're good cousins, right? And I'm the executive assistant for the board. That's a position I've been in since, I don't know, whatever, 2005. I basically act as corporate memory for the SCA.
And she keeps us in line.
I keep them in line.
Sometimes.
As much as that is ever possible.
Mike?
Most of you already know me. I'm Elwin Watkins from the Society. I'm the Society City Shawl Vice President of Operations, and this is my home kingdom since day one. I know far many of you than I don't, so that's a good thing. So, thank you.
John?
Skip.
Skip.
Me. Stand up, Ed. Trust me.
President at SCA.org.
I'm writing the email now.
I'm Ed Kryling in the SCA, Master Eric of Telemark. I am a new office of Sanctions Deputy under the Society Seneschal. I'm the Complaint Department, and I run the investigators. So if I'm on the phone, someone's in trouble. I was born in the Shire of South Downs, and have lived in 6 different kingdoms. I'm in Glen Aubin right now.
Go Rams!
Go Rams!
I did it.
You did it.
Come on, Bear Killer.
I am John Fulton.
Stand up. It's being recorded.
Thank you, good gentlemen who used to have a warrant in the society. I am John Fulton in the society. I'm known as John the Bear Killer. Start off Meridies. I live in Glen Aubin. Go Rams! And I'm the current president of the SCA.
Okay.
We have one.
Yeah.
I am Paul Lancaster in the Society. I'm known as Master Stephen of Durham. I have the honor of being a Meridian here. And I am currently residing in Glen Aubin. Go Rams! And I am here as John's General Flunky. Don't take advantage of it.
So, okay. Let's get started. From the board's point of view, this is what we're seeing. And again, please understand that, you know, this is outsiders addressing you at this point as to what our perception of the situation is. What we're seeing is 2 very different competing views about the future of this kingdom. And how it should look and how it should conduct its business. Again, as an outside observer, it looks like the adherents of each position have hardened into basically factions. These factions have abandoned civil discourse. Those responsible for running and guiding the kingdom are no longer talking to each other. It appears to us they are talking at each other, and no one is listening. Facebook has become a battleground, and it's damaging the SCA as a whole. The rhetoric has devolved to the point of physical threats against members of opposing factions. The general populace is being impacted, and from the emails I've received is appalled at what they don't understand, but do acknowledge is damaging to Meridies. We are here, not to lecture. There will be no grand pronouncements, no pearls of wisdom, no bolts of lightning from on high. We want to listen to everyone to find out what you all think is wrong, and hopefully find some thread to begin finding a middle ground. Because what we have read and what is being requested in emails to explain directly to everyone what the governing documents say that the board can and can't do. It's amazing what you think we can do that we really can't. To try and facilitate a resumption of dialogue, okay, versus the rhetoric. To try and get both sides of the issue to begin to debate and understand you both have valid merit and good points to make about the future of your kingdom. But, you know, those merits and those points are getting buried, okay, in the angry words going back and forth between you. Okay? I've looked at all of these emails. I've looked at many of the postings. And you know what? From my point of view, you know, you're both right. You're both right. All right? You're not all 100% right. Side A is not 100% right. Side B isn't 100% right. But there has to be a middle ground for the kingdom to prosper and grow. And so, we as board members can honestly respond to writers like the one I'm about to quote. We decided we'd come and talk to you. And this is from an email I received. Quote, "This is a volunteer organization. Once the volunteers have been demonized into giving up and going away, who will run your kingdoms?" That's why we're here. Okay. Your turn, folks. Tell us what's going on. John? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Out of order. John, let's talk about Kapora.
All right, I'm going to... It's not nice to laugh at the old. All right, there seems to be a couple of misconceptions about what law is in the SCA, right? What tradition is in the SCA. What Kapora says. What Kapora means. What happens when you take a pair of scissors and cut 4 lines out of a section and use that as law. No, Kapora, if you ever need a copy, I can send you a copy. It's called the operational, yes, you got it right here. It's the operational rules of the SCA. It is the organizational handbook. It handles Kapora, which is the game side. It handles the bylaws, which are the business side. It handles corporate policies, which are the business kind of game side. But when you quote the rules of the society, this are the rules of the society. They're not anywhere else. In order of significance, the bylaws, corporate policies, which are created by the board, Kapora, which is kept up like the bylaws and corporate policies by this people, these 7. Society officer policies, Seneshaw's handbook, A&S handbook, they're approved by the board, but they give you guidelines on how to do stuff. Kingdom law, decisions of the crown. And that means you usually have to announce them. It's good to publish them. If you want them to be serious as opposed to, well, I don't eat raw chicken. Principality law, you don't have to worry about that. Decision of the coronet, you don't have to worry about that. That's it. If you go to, which a lot of people don't do, you go to the next paragraph. It says, if they find it useful to codify their customs, branches and organizations, such as orders, guilds, etc., are permitted to create charters. Charters are primarily administrative tools that can help the group to define structure and procedures. Unless written into kingdom law, organizational charters do not have the force of law. Branch charters may not be written into law. So if you have a charter or a set of rules, and you hold that up as having any part of the actual thing, and it makes it to the board or to the society seneschal, they're like, that's not the rules. I have to personally write the Pelican Charter for our kingdom. I've been tasked by the Crown to get it into kingdom law, which are the same thing as the rules of the orders. You cannot hold it up as law or hammer people with it unless it becomes part of this. Do we all understand that? Tradition is not part of this. If it is important enough to be a rule, it needs to become part of this. Because if things go bad, things do, they've gone bad in our kingdom over the last year and a half over something similar. The argument ends with what this says. Okay? So if you work together to get your charters, your rules, you work with the crown, you work with the coronet, you work with your kingdom seneschal, you work with that kingdom seneschal, you make it part of this. If not, you cannot take something up and use it as a hammer. Because if it gets outside to these people, they don't see, they come from 7 other cultures, they come from one of the 20 different cultures in the FCA, which do everything different. This is the line of what you do. You're supposed to help me.
You're supposed to tell me when you change.
I literally said you're supposed to help me here. Yes.
You want questions at the end?
Is that okay? Do you want me to ask a
Yeah,
question about this?
Yes.
Go ahead. Please.
Going back, so just as a point of clarification, charters and the orders guidelines, that's the same term.
If you put it into kingdom law, the generic term is charter.
Okay.
If Meridies comes up with a different thing, working with the crown or an incoming crown, and puts it into some form in kingdom law, of course you have to work with the crown to see that they are willing to work together. And a real quick thing here, the crown doesn't have power. The crown has authority and responsibility. So as much as peers have responsibility, no authority. So you have to find a way to work this out yourselves so that you don't have constant fights. But yes, you can call whatever you want. If the crown wants to put it in a particular place, the crown can do that, but you are going to have to work together to get it into kingdom law, and hopefully you clear up a lot of misunderstandings.
Okay. I have another question. Society officers' policies.
Yes.
Okay. In Kokora,
Yes.
in the back of Kokora, there are several policies listed from the society officers.
Yes.
In the society officers' handbook,
Yes.
there are policies listed, but
Yes.
not necessarily both in the same place.
Correct.
So D actually means society officers' policies and handbooks.
No.
Correct?
No.
Okay.
Let me
Where
answer.
would the society and officer handbooks
Mandy?
fall in that?
Let me answer that. The policies are the policies are the policies. What you're referring to is their procedural manner.
Okay.
So the policy handbooks are what we have decided the rules are. But the procedural manners are how are we going to carry out our business. Those procedural manuals cannot supersede written policy.
Handbooks are considered there.
Below.
As part of officers, no. As policies
John,
approved by the
you know
board.
me, John. I want to see it written on the pages.
These handbooks, because what the society policy is being done is, that's the way I write, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Back up since we're talking about that.
Oh, yeah, get that down. Okay. Every handbook done by a corporate officer is approved by the board. That particular part of the line where it says policies, that's approved by the board. That's where handbooks go.
Okay.
In that area. Policies approved by the board, that's handbooks.
Okay. So
Yes. It's a gray area.
No, she's saying that there's two different things there. The policy and the not all of our society officers have policies and procedures in one book. Some of them have them separate.
Exactly.
And when they are separate, the policy manual is the top one. The procedures are below that.
So the procedures would come somewhere above kingdom law, decisions of the crown, and things like that, right?
Yes. Most of corporate officers,
Yes.
Yes.
Corporate
Yes.
handbooks.
Yes. If those handbooks are approved by the board of directors, which is a requirement to be published and put out.
And the reason I'm asking that is people will go to Kapora, and if they find a semi-suitable answer or not answer, they may not go further than that and look at handbooks. I mean, granted, they're talking about policies or procedures, but there are some policies things in the
Let me give you an example.
Yes.
Let me give you
I just wanted to know if there was a way to create an actual path to all of the things that might need to be taken into consideration.
There is an editing. There's an editing process before going right now.
Going on right now.
Just like the definition of peerage in the glossary, I'm going to add a meridian rule to that makes that as clear as possible. You good?
Are you going to add tradition?
No.
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 And
No.
culture?
No.
No.
No. Because they don't exist unless they're part of this.
Tradition's too mutable.
Now, tradition is what everybody does voluntarily.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want us to get
Thank
bogged down.
you,
We've
I'm
got
sorry.
a lot of
Thank you very
ground to
much.
cover, but we've had somebody with a hand up for a little bit here.
Yes.
Out on the fringe, please.
Oh, sorry.
Connell?
Okay, so just to make sure I understand what I think you just told me. So if I'm looking through Corpora and I see, and throwing specific, if I see awards are given according to the laws and customs of a kingdom.
Correct.
Peerages are made laws and customs. And I
Right.
think anybody with a dictionary could look it up and say that
So I
customs.
have that here. Let me get to that, and I'll tell you exactly where that is handled directly.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, but I'm.
I've got a part, there's a part of peerage that specifically addresses that.
All right. I'll
And
wait.
that is the part that society seneschals, since time immemorial, have upheld as the
Yep.
meaning, and the board believes that to be the way it is.
Well, and
So let me get to this.
To be honest, it's the way I always thought things were too, but that customs
know.
things confuses me. So.
We have a tendency to look at things in Kapora that we like and not read the whole document. You can't read the glossary and get the definition of a peerage.
All right, I don't want to get bogged down.
I know that.
But,
Let me get to it.
yeah.
All right, John, carry on, please.
Thank you.
All right. The next thing is reservations to the board. Basically, this means that crowns and coronets their bosses are the board. That is the next thing above them, and they're the only ones that can sanction or question crowns. That's what that is. Royalties, selection, we talk about all of that. Everybody keep in mind that in addition to the authority of the crown, there are requirements and responsibilities. So crowns, like in other areas, like the peers or all of us, are assumed to read all of Kapora when it talks about comportment and behavior and concern. All of that is pertinent. It's not pertinent to read a page of what your responsibilities are and pull out one sentence that says, we can do this. That's not what it means. As everybody knows about the current language about the consorts that's open for comment by the board. Again, this is more, this is kind of a short thing. Get to yours in a minute. It talks about what the royalties' responsibilities are. Again, it doesn't say power, it says responsibility. This is your authority. Stick to that. If you get caught up in believing that it is power, things will occur. If you believe that you are the rules, things will occur. Same thing can happen to peers or officers. You've got to read the whole document and understand that responsibility means all of this. It doesn't mean cut and paste. Royalty are subject to all current society laws and kingdom and or principality law. Crown doesn't like a kingdom law, you can't disobey it. You have to do what? Change it. Patent orders. I'm moving into you now. In this area, patent orders, this describes the patent orders. Chivalry, again, it has duties, not power, not this, not that. Duties and responsibilities. Laurel, a couple sentences on being, hey, Laurel. But, courtesy. involving content, responsibility, what you need to do. It's a complete package. Not just what your order is, but what the requirements of peerage. Pelican, hardest thing in the world for me. But you have to be an example of courtesy, order of defense. In the area of peerages, some kingdoms, we think that there are 4 orders of the peerage. That is not technically correct. If your kingdom decides to make the rose a patent order, that is an order of the peerage. It carries a patent of arms. It says that in the area under peerage orders. Meridies doesn't do that. Glenavon is under the peerage areas. The Order of the Rose consists of 4 former royal consorts of the kingdom. It is specifically charged with encouraging chivalrous behavior among all members of society, maybe non-members, or even defined as a patent order, according to the laws and customs of the kingdom. Patent order. Do we know what a patent gives you? It gives you a peer. And as usual, with a couple of other things in the Kapora rewrite, we will be defining that exactly. Which is why if you're in a patent order in another kingdom that isn't recognized in another kingdom, you have to recognize it because it's a Kapora level award. It's the same reason crowns can only have a limited ability to mess with things on peers. Because it's a kingdom, a society-wide order, and you have to do it in a specific way with the board of directors' input. That's a society-wide award. Kingdoms that ignore parts of this and say only go to the glossary will have problems. We don't like problems. All right.
Hey, Grace?
Yes.
I've got a question to change to that if I could.
Yes, please.
Why is the Order of the Rose the only patent order that isn't recognized throughout society or mandatory for every kingdom we have?
I give you my personal opinion.
May I repeat the question back so everybody can hear it?
Yes.
The question was, why is the Order of the Rose the only patent order that is not recognized by all the kingdoms? And I think the rest of that was, but then why is it mandatory that the kingdoms recognize it? Did I get that right?
Close enough.
Great. Go ahead, John.
Long time ago, before any of us were in the SCA, people who were kings got off of thrones and got titles, dukes and counts. Women who served as queens did not. The Order of the Rose was created, again, don't quote me because this is my personal opinion, because they wanted something for the ladies to have since they were not recognized by the society then as deserving of the same titles. That's when it was created. Over the years, kingdoms have addressed the question of whether or not it should be a patent. The Mid-Rome did it for a long period of time. Treated it like a patent order. It met, it gave counsel to the crown, and then they finally went, imploded, and they stopped. So that is an anachronistic rule that has existed to this very day. Glenavon just recently made it a patent order.
John?
Yes, ma'am.
Duchess Larissa lives in Trimaris, and she has actually talked to me about this and explained to me that she knew the original person who suggested that the Order of the Rose should be a patent order. And at the time that it was suggested in a kingdom where the roses were doing an incredible service for the kingdom after they were queens. And they wanted to recognize that service in that way. And so that's where the Order of the Rose was born. And one of the kingdoms that honored that patent at that time was Onstiora. Trimaris honors that patent as well. And that's what it was born out of. Now, that expectation of service today, I think, has grown. And maybe that's something that all kingdoms should address or consider. But again, you know, if you're asking us to make that decision at this level, you know, there are 20 kingdoms. I want a little bit more commentary from all 20 kingdoms before I go changing Kapoor.
The rewrite should help a lot of this, because it is vague and it is not quite clear. Yes.
Thank you, Master John. So I have a question about this, the Order of the Rose. It pertains to former royal consorts, right? So if the sovereign doesn't have a patent of arms on his own, when he steps down, he either has to be awarded a patent of arms with his royal title, or he has to go out and get one of the other peerages, right? So why isn't this equal? If both people potentially are worthy of a patent of arms, and neither one of them have one when they step down, why can't they? I mean, it's like you're leaving the sovereign out.
I think it's because it was assumed for a while that they would be knights, and it just hasn't been changed.
And Your Highness,
Right, we were looking to, I'm pointing that out.
Your Highness, some kingdoms actually give patents with the county
Yeah,
retention.
which is what we're trying to move to.
Okay.
We're trying to move to patents with the county.
Okay, let's take 2 more questions and then we'll go to open forum.
Yeah,
And then I'll be done with this last
this is
part.
not a question, but it was a clarification. I'm assuming you were pointing at me.
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. When I recently did a survey of them, 11 of the kingdoms, based on their kingdom law, award the patent to any former royal who does not have one at the point they step down. So to your point, Dame Fiona, that would make a sovereign who did not have a patent of arms get one automatically when they step down. There are 6 that specifically give it only to the consort, and the others don't say one way or another what they're doing in their kingdom law.
Okay.
It's like in a heraldic policy somewhere.
I just wanted to ask.
Did everybody catch that comment? 11 of the kingdoms automatically grant patents of arms.
To any former royal, consort, or sovereign that does not have a patent.
All right, one more
Last
question.
page. You have another question?
Last page?
Last page.
All right, last page. This is, again, these are pertinent to what showed up in emails over the stuff for the last year and a half in your kingdom. Suspension of an officer, kingdom officer, crown to suspend for the length of their reign. They cannot remove an officer. That takes the corporate officer and the crown. On the other hand, the corporate officer can't remove your ANS officer. They can only suspend them for an even shorter period of time. So removal takes both. Suspension, the crown can do that with the stated thing. We all good with that. You understand that. You got to work together. All right. Personal awards and titles. Patents of arms. General requirements. And this is the gold standard that is accepted in 17 kingdoms and by the Society Seneschal and by the board multiple times. It has not been overturned. Candidates for any order, patent of arms, conferring a patent of arms, must meet the following minimum requirements. Additional requirements may be set by law and custom, tradition, of the kingdoms as deemed appropriate and necessary by the crown. By the crown. Not by the orders, not by individuals. So, how do you work this in? You get a charter, you get it in, you work together to cover your bases so that there's no disagreement. We understand. Everybody got a question about that? Because I'm getting ready to turn it over to the big guys.
Yeah, what does that mean? So charter. What's the charter for what?
Charter, okay. Are you a member of peerage?
No.
All right. All the order of peerages usually have a 433-page list of requirements and things. These are their rules. These are their rules. All the orders, stinking orders have them.
Right.
They all go by them. And there are all kinds of interesting things in those rules. But those rules only apply to the order when they function together voluntarily. If you want that to apply in a real way, a charter is basically that where the crown agrees and you put it in as an addendum to kingdom law.
Okay, so it's not sufficient to be in the charter. It has to be in kingdom law.
Has to be one of those things.
Right, because you would say go forth and put them in your charter, but the charter really
But
doesn't matter.
as I said at the beginning, charters don't exist for any authority.
That's right.
Unless they're in kingdom law.
rewrite's going to cover.
So the charter is really meaningless, except for the internal business of the order.
It's a voluntary thing by a group of people, but peer orders have no authority within the society. They just don't, unless you get it into Kingdom law and codify it so it's understandable. And then it can be Kingdom, but that's why you do the best you can to see that things are done right. Until the Kapora edit is done, we'll see. There may be all kinds of things coming forward. It'll be put out by the board if they agree on some stuff. We've got the consort thing coming out. There'll be other things out. The damn glossary, thank you, Grace, is being rewritten even as we speak.
Is there an expectation on when those edits might be done? And I mean expectations.
Some are
The
coming out.
question was whether or not there was an expectation of when the edit of Kapora would be done.
There is a committee working on the edits, which is basically grammar. There's a lot of dumb repeats and stuff. One Kapora edit is all of that thick stuff. Like SCA, society, the society, a general word for the damn SCA. Taking out all of the gender things. Because at this point in our history of the society, there is literally no need to include gender in some bizarre way that we're not going by anyway. And that's beyond the consort question, which is a whole another discussion. But there should be some coming out. There's definitely what the board put out. There'll be 5 or 6 suggestions the board presented during my report for the July meeting. Some will come up. The overall editing thing is being done by a very nice woman called Liz Beatty Schreier, who is in Calentary, the next board member, ex-Kingdom Seneschal, who's going to put that out. That'll be like, here's all the grammar stuff, yes or no for the public. And there'll be, 30% of people are going to complain.
Bear Killer?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. We anticipate that we will put out ongoing revisions over the next 18 months. If that's what the first thing you see come out is not going to be the final. It's a start.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So what you're going to see is a version of Kapora that's going to come out and standardize things like the use of the word society. Right? What we're looking at here, well, we sort of need to start somewhere, right?
And the removal of gender.
And removal of gender. After that, you'll start to see, in notifications through announcements, etc., that we are starting to look at actual sections of Kapora to bring them up to speed with the way we operate as a society now.
I just want to make sure everybody, I'm sorry.
Got a question in the back here?
And then Thomas.
And then Thomas. Okay, go ahead, sir.
John, one question out of Kapora is it's probably going to be a hard lot of problems today. It deals with the power of the crown, the authority of the crown, the elding peer, and consultation. Could you read that passage just so that we all know what it is? It should be in there under the power of the crown.
Where is my Kapora person? Would you bring that up for me, please?
Lady She's awesome. The law bearer. So if you hadn't heard, the question was, what is the specific intention regarding a specific section of Kapora dealing with the authority and the powers of the crown?
John, all I wanted to say is make sure everybody knows that you can send out a request for commentary on any changes.
Yes, of course.
Make sure
Yes.
everybody knows that.
Yeah, okay. So anytime we make a change in policy, we put out a request for commentary. And we read them all.
What it says.
Leslie.
Page number.
I was just going to make an addendum to that. Just because something is sent out for comment does not necessarily mean that it is a done deal.
Oh, no.
Comment is just that, comment. It may be that once the commentary comes in, the proposed action item is amended. It may be dropped. There's any number of outcomes that can be connected to that. That's why commentary must go out in print. It's not official until it is in your newsletters. And it requires 60 days after that before any action can be taken.
Okay, read real quick. The part that you're talking about consultation.
Page number.
22.
22 top.
Thank you.
The Crown may elevate subjects to the peerage by granting membership in one of the orders, conferring a patent of arms, after consultation with members of the order within the kingdom, and in accordance with laws and customs of the kingdom. And then later on, under the actual peer orders, it talks about laws and customs according to the wishes of the crown. If you're asking what is consultation,
I'm not going to say what is the actual language there.
that is the actual language when it talks about the authority of the crown. There's additional language when it talks about the actual peerage orders.
May I make one comment here?
Sure.
Because this gets back to something else you said about charters. A lot of our orders and meridies haven't done a former royal do not have charters in Kingdom of Law right now.
Right.
So they are not bound the way His Grace has been talking in Kingdom of Law. So the only guiding principles that we have are the four right there. Am I correct or am I wrong in interpretation?
The rules are here. If your kingdom, there's a lot of kingdoms with a lot of odd laws that if you open it up and look at it, it probably violates 433 parts of Kapora. But if it's not used and it's been hidden for decades and nobody has a fit in a getting a set way, not in any other way, bad choice of terms, then it's really doesn't become important. But if it becomes a fight and the board is involved, then they will revert directly.
You raised, you had your hand up. Do tell us.
Just as a commentary though, I think you can see where the confusion is when it says in that passage you just read, laws and customs of the kingdom.
Right.
That implies that the customs of the kingdom have a binding effect.
No.
No.
Custom is not tradition.
This the law says custom has binding effect.
Custom is not tradition.
All right. Hold on. Stop, please. Please. In the first page of what we brought out, it specifically talks about customs and orders. In that area, it is a little vague. But then when you move to specify in peer orders, it expands that. So picking one sentence out and holding your entire argument on that, when the Society Seneschal and the board has said, that's not what it is, my suggestion is go back to what Kapora overall says and put it into a place that it actually means.
But Kapora is self-contradictory.
No, see, you say that, but there's a lot of us who don't see the contradiction. We see some confusion, and it needs to be written better in a couple of areas.
Yes.
But that's why you and I are working on
Absolutely.
the editing. And that will be fixed.
I will also say there are 20 kingdoms, okay? And some of them actually say what consultation means in their kingdom law. And John keeps saying that to you. What have you put in your kingdom law? If it's a controversy for you, perhaps that's something you should define in your kingdom law, what you consider consultation.
Okay, so 2 points I'd like to make. One of them, the second one, actually goes to the last half hour of what we're talking about today. But the first is, yes, we're talking about taking a look at some key sections of Kapora at this point with an eye of changing them. Do understand that a corporation in itself is like a cruise ship, all right? And how fast does a big cruise ship change course, all right? Now, hang 20 tugboats off of it all pulling in a different direction. How fast is that ship going to make a turn? So yes, we do acknowledge that changes have to be made, but they are going to take time. The second thing is we are going to take a part of this and look at bylaws and talk about your bylaws. And I would just like to put one thought into your minds to think about before we go there, and that is bylaws are never actually well written when they're written by friends who get along all the time. They're not there. I was part of a bylaws committee for a canton a number of years ago where a member of the group went, well, what do we need these bylaws for? We all get along. Right? Well, you need good, strong bylaws for when you don't get along. And unfortunately, that's where we are right now here. Okay, who's next?
She raised her hand quite a while
Yes.
ago.
I've got to keep things moving around.
Okay.
Yes, in the back, please.
I just want to ask a clarifying question, because you made a comment just a second ago about customs are not traditions, but what are customs?
Okay, so, and you don't see it until you go out there and you see it. That's what,
Love it.
thank you. So, you don't see it until you see it. And when I first came onto the board, I thought those things were the same thing. I really did. And then I visited 8 kingdoms in 1 year. And I sat in a court, and I realized that your customs of how you give an award out is vastly different from the kingdom I came from. You know, in the kingdom I came from, they call somebody's name up, they come up, they kneel, the crown says some nice things about them, somebody else in the audience might say something about them, and then they read the award. There's some hugging, there's a medallion, and somebody runs off to the side to give more hugs. The first time I attended a court here, and the entire order went up to the front for literally every award, I'm like, why does everybody keep getting up? I don't understand. Why are we getting up all the time? What's going on? That's a custom. That's a custom. A tradition is something that we all just tacitly agree to because we want to get along with each other. It's not what we have in Kapora.
So can I?
Yeah, sure.
So, but how can you tell when something evolves from one to the other? Because that feels like such a fluid thing.
When it gets put into kingdom law.
Right.
Yes.
When it gets put into kingdom law. Exactly.
And I firmly believe that you are on the point where you need to take some of your customs and translate them to kingdom law.
Some of us agree on that point. And notice I'm going to say that. We don't all agree. Even the 4 out of the 7 sitting up here, there's 4 of us here, there's 7 of us total. We don't all agree on this point. We don't.
If I may, to try to keep this organized, if you don't mind.
Yep, do it.
Go ahead. Start on this. The lady over here in the blue, after you get done, anybody else, please either, except for their majesties and their highnesses, we'll make a few exceptions. Privilege does have some rank. If you would either come up here or send somebody up here or get my attention so I can get your name up here. If you know me and you know I know your name, you just raise your hand. But otherwise, you need to send somebody up here and give me a name to put up here.
There's also somebody behind you.
I had a question.
I don't have a question. I actually wanted to speak. But so I don't have a question. If you have a question.
Stephen Forecastle. I just wanted to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead, my lady.
Want
Okay.
to move my chair?
Sure. I'm happy to come because I don't want to address the BoD. I want to address everybody else. I'm Katya the Forthright.
Be polite.
I
Say
will
again. Say your name again.
Katya the Forthright. Forthright being the operative word here.
I don't think
so. I probably don't need it. Can the people in the back hear me? Yeah. All right. So I'm coming for much the same reason the BoD has come. I want to appeal to everyone. So I have thought about this for months. I've written something. I've edited it. I've been sitting here editing it again. And this is what I see. And what I'm asking, because this is me asking, for our kingdom to do, to make us better. Okay? I came here from another kingdom that had the BoD come because there were factions. And I don't want what happened there to happen here. Because I had friends on both sides of those factions, and I lost a lot of friends. And I don't want to lose my friends. And I don't want to be bullied or chased away from the SCA. Because I'm here for a different reason than politics. So, what I have to say, the SCA is a community of people. We are here to spend time together, to research history together, to explore and learn about the Middle Ages. Above all, we are an educational organization. That's how we have our nonprofit status. We are here to educate ourselves, each other, people outside of our organization,
That is how we are a nonprofit. We are a 401c3 or 401(c)(3) nonprofit educational organization. I've served on boards of nonprofit educational organizations, and I know it's hard to maintain that status, especially when there become political problems and it becomes more about fighting each other than about remembering that we are here to educate. Okay. Elevation to the peerage, speaking to the peers, is a recognition of your skill. If you're a master of defense or a knight, it's a recognition of your skill in the martial arts. If you're a pelican, it's a recognition of your history of service and volunteerism. If you're a laurel, it's a recognition of your history of research in the arts and sciences. You have the responsibility to be examples for the rest of the populace, me included. The peers are something that the populace, me, other members of the populace, look up to. That does not place you above us. We look to you as an example, not as a seniority. We look to you as an example of your fighting skill, as an example of your knowledge and your ability in research, your artistry, your exploration of the sciences. We look to you as an example of your service, your volunteerism,